At 95, Clint Eastwood tells us who he wants at his funeral. Clint Eastwood was born Clint Eastwood Jr. on May 31, 1930, in San Francisco, California. He grew up during the Great Depression, a really tough time in America that taught him how to work hard and never give up. His family moved around a lot because his dad was looking for work, which taught young Eastwood how to take care of himself and handle changes. He wasn't the kind of kid you'd think would become a movie star. He was tall, quiet, a bit awkward, and he liked music and fixing things more than acting. After finishing high school, he tried all kinds of jobs, like being a lifeguard, delivering newspapers, working with steel, and pumping gas at a gas station. These regular working-class jobs would later help him play believable, tough characters in movies. Eastwood didn't jump into acting right away. He took acting classes while working behind the scenes at Universal Studios. At first, the big bosses didn't think he'd make it and even criticized the way he talked and acted. His big break came in the late 1950s when he got cast as Rowdy Yates in the TV Western show Rawhide. The show lasted 8 seasons and made Eastwood known across America, though he often felt like the role didn't let him be creative enough. Still, Rawhide gave him important practice and got people to notice him, setting him up for bigger things later. The real game changer in Eastwood's career happened in the mid-1960s, when he went to Italy to star in some cheap Western movies directed by Sergio Leone. These movies, a fistful of dollars, for a few dollars more, and the good, the bad, and the ugly changed what Westerns could be and made Eastwood a star around the world. He played a character called the Man with No Name, which created a totally new kind of movie hero. This guy wasn't clearly good or bad. He didn't talk much, and he was dangerous. With his cold stare, very few words, and that famous poncho, Eastwood became this legendary tough guy that people everywhere loved. These films didn't just bring Westerns back to life. They also changed how movies told stories with their stylish action scenes, dramatic music, and tough moral choices. When he came back to Hollywood in the late 1960s and 1970s, Eastwood became even more famous with the Dirty Harry movies. As Detective Harry Callahan, he played a tough cop dealing with a city full of crime and bad guys. The movies caused arguments because of their politics and showing someone taking the law into their own hands. People loved them, and they had a huge impact on culture. Callahan's famous line, "Do you feel lucky?" became one of the most repeated lines in movie history. While experts argued about what the character meant, everyone agreed that Eastwood had an amazing presence on screen, and he captured what worried people during that time, even while he was a huge movie star. Eastwood was quietly getting ready for a new career as a director. He directed his first movie, Play Misty for Me, in 1971, showing he naturally understood how to tell stories, control timing, and create the right feeling. Over time, directing became not just part of his career, but the most important part. Eastwood became known for working efficiently, preferring just a few takes, calm acting, and a friendly atmosphere when making movies. His directing style showed who he was as a person: calm, disciplined, and really respectful of the craft. As a filmmaker, Eastwood made many different kinds of movies. He looked at big topics like violence and making up for bad things in Unforgiven, being obsessed and keeping secrets in Mystic River, war and remembering in Letters from Iwo Jima, getting old and what you leave behind in Gran Torino, faith and uncertainty in $1 Million Baby, and what heroism really costs in American Sniper. Unforgiven, made in 1992, was a huge turning point. It took apart the Western legends that had made him famous and won him Academy Awards for Best Director and Best Picture. Eastwood's later career might be even more amazing than when he first became famous. In his 70s, 80s, and beyond, he kept directing and acting in big movies with the same creative energy as always. $1 Million Baby, made in 2004. Won him another set of Oscars and showed he wasn't afraid to tackle really tough questions about right and wrong. Movies like Gran Torino gave a very personal look at growing old, what it means to be a man, and finding redemption. And it really connected with people of all ages. Clint Eastwood's personal life has been just as complicated and interesting as his career, with many relationships, a big family, and always keeping things private. While people often see him as a loner, the people who work with him usually say he's thoughtful, kind, and very professional. On December 19, 1953, Eastwood married Maggie Johnson, a marriage that lasted more than 30 years and happened during his rise from a struggling actor to a Hollywood legend. Together, they had 2 children, son Kyle, born in 1968, who later became a respected jazz musician and composer, and daughter Allison, born in 1972, who followed her father into acting and filmmaking. Even though their marriage lasted a long time, the relationship had problems, and they finally separated in 1984. Their divorce was reported everywhere as one of the most expensive divorces at that time. Even while he was married, Eastwood's love life was complicated. From 1959 to 1973, he was in a long relationship with a dancer named Roxanne Tunis. They had a daughter together named Kimber, born in 1964. In 1975, Eastwood started what would become one of his most famous and talked about relationships with actress Sandra Locke. Their partnership was both romantic and professional, and together they became a powerful creative team in Hollywood. Their relationship lasted until April 1989. One of Eastwood's most private relationships was his secret affair with flight attendant Jocelyn Reeves. From this quiet relationship came 2 children, Scott, born in 1986, who would later become a successful actor himself, and Catherine, born in 1988. After his split from Locke, Eastwood began a relationship with actress Frances Fisher. Their romance resulted in the birth of a daughter, Francesca, in 1993. In 1996, Eastwood married TV news anchor Dina Ruiz, a marriage that seemed to bring a calmer, more peaceful time in his life. They had a daughter, Morgan Eastwood, later that same year. For more than 10 years, the marriage seemed solid. But in August 2013, Ruiz revealed that they had been living separately. Their divorce was finished in 2014 at 95. Clint Eastwood has reached an age where looking back comes naturally. And when he talks about legacy, people pay attention. In recent conversations, the screen legend has talked about death in his typical restrained way. No nonsense, clear-eyed, and quietly meaningful. Rather than focusing on big shows or fancy things, Eastwood's thoughts about who he would want at his funeral show something deeper. A picture of the relationships, values, and artistic friendships that have mattered most to him across more than 70 years in movies. The names he mentions, Kevin Costner, Sylvester Stallone, Harrison Ford, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Catherine Deneuve, aren't just random celebrities. When Eastwood talks about Kevin Costner, there's a sense of passing things down through generations. Kevin understands restraint, Eastwood has said. He doesn't need to shout to be heard, and that's rare. Both men brought Westerns back to life in different decades, proving that Westerns could still connect with modern audiences. Sylvester Stallone represents something completely different, but equally respected. Sylvester fought his way in, he once said. He wrote himself into existence. That kind of determination connects with Eastwood, who survived years of rejection before finding stardom. Harrison Ford has a special place in Eastwood's group of people he respects. Harrison never pretends he's perfect, Eastwood has said. He lets the cracks show. For a filmmaker who spent much of his directing career looking at moral gray areas and flawed heroes, Ford represents a shared way of thinking. Arnold Schwarzenegger being included might surprise some people, but to Eastwood, it makes perfect sense. Arnold understood branding before people used the word he once observed. But he also understood work. Their careers went along different paths, but both men mastered the art of lasting a long time. Perhaps the most poetic name Eastwood mentions is Catherine Deneuve. Catherine never chased approval, he has said. She just did the work. Deneuve represents elegance, mystery, and artistic independence. Qualities Eastwood has always valued. Put together, these names form a portrait of Clint Eastwood himself. At 95, Eastwood doesn't talk about death with fear or drama. A funeral isn't about mourning a career, he has said. It's about the people who understood you along the way. In revealing who he would want there, Eastwood reveals who he is. A man shaped by respect, earned, and challenges survived.